for episode 69, we did ask our listeners to submit their sexual, I think I phrased it, erotic fantasies.
The fantasies are all people I never want to meet.
Sex is so much more sexy when it is somebody who you feel safe with.
If anybody thinks that you being assertive is desperate, they are not ready to date somebody.
Mm-hmm. There was a moment in the night where you said, like, oh, yeah. I swear to God. Or it was a ghost.
What I don't understand is, why is kinky your goal?
A distinguished scholar teaches
you
you the art and the science of your body.
Everyone has a weird thing. Everyone likes a forbidden thing in some arena or another. Like, you really don't have to overthink it. It's the most standard thing. It's like a fucking given.
Hey, welcome back. We're Not For Everyone. We're a podcast hosted by a hater and a lover. Caroline and I are here, but we're here with a special guest.
A spirit.
Spirit, do you want to introduce yourself?
Yeah, my name's Abby Newhouse. I edit the podcast.
That's right. That's our producer, Prince. We're all in DC together. I'm in town, and we decided to record in person because it's our 69th episode.
Wow.
Huge moment for the pod.
Huge.
Bigger than anything that will ever happen for us, I think. I'm pretty sure that's how I feel about
This
it.
is the only milestone I've been thinking about. We didn't celebrate 1 million listens. We didn't celebrate 50 episodes. We didn't really celebrate a year, but I've been thinking about episode 69.
It's super celebratory.
Yeah.
It's gonna get weird.
Mm-hmm.
We have some interesting things in store. We don't know how they're gonna go, so,
Yeah.
we'll just see.
We never do.
Caroline, tell me what's been on your mind.
Oh. I want to know if people relate to this. I've been having, not the specific, but the general concept. I've been having, like, intrusive thoughts about the Berenstain Bears. By which I mean, like, where it's happened a few times. Literally, I got, like, this laser thing on my face the other day, and when I closed my eyes, I was just thinking about the Berenstain Bears. All of a sudden, like, nothing prompted it. I wasn't trying to. Nothing jogged my memory. It wasn't like I wasn't choosing it.
Right.
And it's happened like 3 times.
You.
Yeah.
The Bernstein life chose you.
And it was like the 3rd time it had happened. And when it happened the 3rd time, I was like, what does this mean? Do you ever get that where you're like...
With them, specifically?
Not with them, but either with an intrusive thought where you're like, that's so random. Why do I keep thinking about this? Or with something that pops up like... I referenced Gertrude Stein in a video the other day, and someone left a comment. They were like, that's the 3rd time someone said Gertrude Stein to me today.
Yeah.
Like, that kind of thing where you're like, what is it? When it happens like 3 times and it's something random, I'm like,
yeah.
What does it mean? I'm not so...
Stitious.
Stitious?
You're not superstitious, you're
but
just a little stitious?
I am a little stitious, and I will be like, what does it mean? I'm having intrusive thoughts about the Berenstain Bears.
So interesting. I understand definitely the thing of, like, somebody says something and then
you hear
it everywhere.
Yeah.
And it's like, is it coming up more, or is it just that I'm noticing it more? So that definitely. Intrusive thoughts. I mean, I get into intrusive thoughts. Last night, we all had a sleepover.
Did we?
Well, good question. Good clarification. We started to have a sleepover, and then, like, an hour into all of us sleeping or laying here at Caroline's.
Tell it from your perspective.
Okay, so Caroline and Abby are in bed in Caroline's bedroom. I'm on the couch. The lights are off. Everyone's tucked in, nighty-night. And, like, maybe 45 minutes later, I just hear some rustling. And I open my eyes, and Abby's in the living room, like, getting her stuff together. And I wasn't sure if you were getting something that you needed to sleep or something, or if you were, like, trying to kill me. Like, it was somewhere on that spectrum.
Yeah.
And then I kind of figured out, because you were, like, waiting by the door and holding your phone. I was like, oh, okay, I think she's going to leave because she's, like, having a hard time sleeping here. But by the same token, like, I also was having intrusive thoughts that you were gonna kill me.
Yeah.
But to be clear, yeah, both of you give me a mic. To be clear, in my living room, Abby's standing at the door and Justice is sleeping here. You're like 8 feet apart, and at no point did Justice go, "Hey, Abby, what are you doing?" Jess was just laying there being like,
in my head,
gonna stab me.
Yeah, I was just in my head like, what's she doing? What, am I safe? And then once you left, it was weird because at first I thought you were the killer. Right. Then you left and I was like, okay, she's cool. She's just going home. Then I was like, now Caroline and I are here alone. What's that mean for my safety?
Yeah.
So it was a very strange night. And then I thought I was haunted.
Yeah, okay. This is...
Which is a topic.
I think this is the important update.
Yeah. It is haunted.
Wait, you didn't tell me that.
You felt the haunting?
Yeah, I definitely felt the haunting.
Say more.
Wait, what?
Say more.
That?
Say more.
No,
Say more.
We talked about it. I feel like...
Oh.
I feel like I was laying in bed and we said goodnight. And then it was just dark and there was like...
dark.
I had like... I have my eye mask because obviously I'm a weird sleeper and that's part of why I had to leave. I was just like, I actually can't. My body was like, no.
Yeah.
And so, but I like lifted up my eye mask because I was like, what's in the corner?
Oh my god, this is my entire night. This is 30 minutes. This is 30-minute long activity before I go to sleep every night.
It started to make sense to me.
I have to keep checking, and sometimes I have the thought where I'm like, if you keep checking what's in the room, if you keep looking, if you keep turning on lights, like I'll turn on the lights to check.
Yeah.
And I'm like, that's probably just going to incur the fear because it just makes you feel more and more scared like there's something. And I'll tell myself like, stop checking, but it feels like you have to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I felt that.
I'm not, oh my god.
I felt something. I don't think I've ever asked myself,
shut up.
Am I being haunted right now? Like I've never related to the experiences that you've described on the podcast about feeling spooked and haunted and whatever.
Oh my god.
And last night I was like, there's something going on here.
Oh
like,
my god.
I was able to talk myself off
the
ledge.
Oh my god. How am I supposed to live?
Okay, I have something to say though.
Okay, I want to say first of all, I don't think it's the apartment. This has been my entire life. I think it's me. I think it's following me.
That's interesting.
I'm not kidding. Like, I don't actually think something's happening, but like, it is the way that you feel in this apartment and that you're validating how I felt. This is my entire life.
Right.
I don't think personally that whatever it was felt malevolent.
No, but it also didn't feel that nice.
I think it's like an angry mother.
Wow. I do
think
feel...
it's somebody looking down on you, but not like they're gonna murder you. I think they're just kind of like...
Ew.
But it's not like protective either.
No, it's not.
No. It's like, I'm watching you energy.
Shut the fuck up.
But I can't tell if I'm making this up. Like, I can't tell.
That's the thing. Are we just talking ourselves into it?
I don't know, but last night I was laying there being like, am I talking myself into it? Because I think Abby getting up was the first moment of like, I feel a little weirded out, but I understand what happened. I can move on now. But then I kept feeling weird. And I don't know if it was just a reaction to her getting up or if it was... Yeah. And then once I was feeling weird, I was like, well, Caroline has said it's haunted.
Yeah.
And then it's a cycle that I'm like, am I convincing myself or do I actually feel that way?
It is a little bit of a cycle, but that's what I'm saying, where it's like it's not necessarily a creak in the night or something. It's just like, if I don't want to feel this way and I'm feeling this way against my will, it creeps me out more, kind of. Also, I didn't even say, while Abby and I were falling asleep, this isn't a haunted podcast, we'll move on. But while Abby and
It is an Intrusive Thoughts podcast
in
a lot of ways.
Podcast.
Yeah.
But as Abby and I were falling asleep, like, we just said goodnight, and I felt something brush my toe, and I, like, looked up to be like, oh, I guess she doesn't have enough room, or she's kicking me or something. Abby was completely still. She wasn't anywhere near me, wasn't touching me. And then a second thing happened. I can't remember what it was. And there was no explanation. It creeped me out. It wasn't Abby. And I did what I have to do every night, which is just like, well, I have to sleep here. And I just went on with my evening.
Right.
That's how most of it wraps up, is like, I guess they'll get me if they feel like it.
Right.
I don't think they feel like it.
I don't think they feel like it either, but they haven't, like, cultivated enough other engaging interests of their own. They're still, like,
There's a lot of hobbies you could do in this apartment. You could read books, you could do art stuff.
Like, they're not completely...
eat candy.
Yeah, they're not disinterested in haunting me.
Yeah. So I have something to bring up about last night that I've been saving.
Oh.
And it's a good segue into episode 69.
Oh.
And I hope you're not uncomfortable by this, but I think it's fine.
Oh, no.
Okay, what'd she do?
No.
What'd she
Did
do?
you have a sex dream?
Oh my god, what? No.
There was a moment in the night where you said, like, oh, yeah. I swear to God. Or it was a ghost. Or it was one of the ghosts. I'm not sure.
The only thing I remember is I had a stress dream. I had bad dreams last night.
Okay.
I don't remember the details, but they were like, haunting related. There was something where like a baby was in danger.
It sounded pleasurable, but
Maybe I don't remember that dream.
yeah, maybe it's a dream you don't remember. Or again,
yeah.
maybe it's a ghost. Abby was gone, so it wasn't Abby. It wasn't me because I heard it. I don't know. It was a very pleasurable, oh yeah.
Oh, good for you.
I know.
What do you mean good for me? I have no memory or experience of this. I had nightmares. I had nightmares.
You don't
and
remember
Abby
every
left me.
dream. You don't remember every dream.
I don't feel good. So what do you mean good for me? It didn't even happen to me.
Yeah, fair. But good for your sleeping.
Oh, I've just been
Good for me. Maybe good for me. I'm like, oh yeah, she's fucking getting it in there.
I do talk in my sleep. Yeah, I do.
Okay.
I do talk in my sleep, yeah.
Do you wear earplugs? I noticed you were wearing earplugs, right?
Yes.
Do you wear them to stop yourself from hearing your
From
own
hearing me?
speech in your sleep?
No, I don't hear myself ever.
Okay.
That's just to stop myself from hearing the spirits.
noises, yeah.
The spirits.
There were creaks, and it was because it was raining.
There do be creaks
and
too.
because you live in like, I don't actually know if this is an older building, but it's like a 3-story walk-up type
Yeah.
of thing where you can like hear steps of your neighbors a little bit.
Yeah.
And so there were those things. There were those things.
For some reason, you guys confirming all this isn't creeping me out that much.
Good.
It's kind of making it feel more fun.
I think it's fun.
It is.
It's something we can share.
Yeah.
Justin's never confirmed this for you, has he?
No.
He's not leaning in. That's why I
they're-
think we're leaning
yeah.
in. Or maybe they're only interested in women.
I think it is. That's why an angry mom spirit sounds right, because moms love Justin, and so I feel like, yeah, I think he's not getting it at all.
Okay.
Can I tell you something about moms and bears to bring it back?
Bears.
Always.
And dreams. My mom has this dream book that's like pretty famous in our family because it's really stupid. Like I have dreams about spiders all the time, and she's like, "Oh, it means something's bugging you."
So it's a dream book. She didn't write the book.
No.
It's like it explains your dreams.
Got it.
Yeah, she did not write the book. But what it says about bears and your intrusive thoughts is that something's unbearable.
You're joking.
I'm not.
Who
joking.
wrote this book?
I don't know.
Honestly,
A genius.
they lost all their credibility. I'm out. I don't think we get to do that.
You don't like dream puns.
I don't like puns in general.
Because then that only works in the English language. Doesn't work
Yeah.
in another language.
But in other languages, having a dream about a bear means
Yes.
you're loving it.
I'm trying to think about like bear in French. L'ours.
Oh yeah, it is.
Oh.
Unlaughable. No, it doesn't work.
It doesn't work. Okay, speaking of dreams, for episode 69, we did ask our listeners to submit their sexual, I think I phrased it, erotic fantasies on Instagram. For some reason, I felt weird about putting the word sexual on our Instagram story, and I decided erotic was better.
Interesting, the way you choose to
I
sound.
was like, my mom's gonna see this. Erotic, definitely.
Oh, your mom watches?
Yeah, she follows our Instagram.
Oh my god, my mom could not give less shits about the podcast.
No, but doesn't Lauren love me?
She just doesn't. She does.
A pregnant pause.
No. What I wanted to say is, it's not about you. It's whatever. She's like, should I listen to that? I was like, not with that attitude.
My mom doesn't listen to our episodes because I've asked her not to, and I actually do believe her that she doesn't listen to them. But she follows our Instagram, so she'll see little snippets.
I could never tell my mom that she shouldn't listen or that I wouldn't like her to. Guaranteed listen.
Okay.
Guaranteed listen.
Interesting. I actually do believe her. I've told people that before.
Yeah, no.
I told my therapist that, and she's like, "Are you sure?" And I'm like, I actually really do trust that my mom listened to what I said on this. Because I explained it to her as like, it's not like I'm talking about you all day, Mom. I mean, we all know I do talk about my relationship with my mom, but it's nothing that she doesn't know.
Yeah.
And I really do censor it, and I'm careful about the way I talk about it still. So it's not that it's like I don't want her to hear certain things. It's more I don't want to feel guarded when we're recording. Totally. And if I know my mom's listening, that's like the number one person that I'll feel guarded about.
Yeah.
Like,
you'll change how you talk.
I'll change how I talk and how I am.
Yeah.
So that's why. And I explained that to her, and she was like, I get it.
That's how I feel about the comment section. Like, the reason I don't, like, if Spotify ever creates a comment section like they have on YouTube, I'll be like, I'm out.
Yeah.
Because I can speak so differently in the podcast than I can
That's
on
the
YouTube.
beauty of a podcast, totally. And that's why we're going to talk about erotic fantasies.
Okay, keep going. My bad.
So we got some submissions. Not too many submissions. I guess the story hasn't been posted for more than like overnight. But we got enough, I think, to work with. Do you agree, Prince?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're going to work through some erotic fantasies.
Prince is going to read us some erotic fantasies that she's selected from our submissions, and we're going to react. We're going to do act outs. We're going to do whatever moves us.
Yeah, we're going to say which ones are right and which ones are wrong.
I think that's true. So give us something, and let's just see. We have no plans for this segment beyond what I just said, so we'll see how it goes.
Okay, some of them were like kind of serious, but I'm going to try and give you, I'm going to go with this one first, okay? So in their fantasy, they are a virgin and a respected older man has to teach them everything about their body and sex.
That's correct.
That's a classic. Either that's a classic to me, that's like a foundational story. That's probably the foundation of like every sex fantasy that I'm gonna go ahead and say most women have, is just like,
I don't know anything.
I don't know anything. Yeah. This weird as I'm just a baby.
Literally. Didn't somebody write that? Yep. Somebody wrote I'm baby in the submissions. I tried not to read them, but there were a couple that I saw. It's correct.
Read it again, older man.
Respected older man.
I love that. Yeah,
Distinguished. A distinguished scholar.
Yes.
Teaches you the art and the science of your body.
So for me, an important addition in my version of that, I wonder if this applies to her too. An important addition is that, like, this doesn't do much for him. He doesn't really care. He's not lascivious. He's just like, I have to help you with this because look at you. You're pathetic. And it's the same way I have to teach you how to, like, use a laundromat as you're growing up or something.
Yeah.
I'm gonna show you this. And
yeah, exactly. He's not bothered by it. He's like,
care.
oh, yeah.
But he's also not, he's not like... He's not like excited about it.
He's casual. Yeah.
He doesn't really care.
He doesn't care about you.
That's important.
He doesn't care about you, but he does want to take advantage of you, so he needs you to know enough, but not too much. Right? Yeah. It's kind of like that movie, Poor Things. Did you see that?
I didn't see it.
It was... Did you see it?
Yeah,
okay. I liked it, but I know it was kind of divisive. It's a very artsy movie, and I would not consider myself a very artsy person or a very artsy movie person or whatever.
Whenever I hear artsy movie, to me, I hear like, okay, not entertaining. You have to work really hard to appreciate the symbolism.
Yeah.
I don't want to see it.
I felt that the symbolism was blatant, that being said. Like, it was very...
What's the symbol? What is it?
What's one symbol? It's like a story about...
I'm just making you on my mic.
It's a story about, like... I don't know.
She's dead.
Traditional gender roles and, like, feminism in a weird, like, backwards type of way, and misogyny and, like, daddy issues and God, like, do you get it?
I see where this relates to the sex fantasy, yeah.
And there's a lot of sex in it, not with the father figure, but the father figure is the reason why this girl is kind of, like, fucked up. It's very... I'm not going to explain the whole thing because I think it's worth watching.
All right, maybe I should watch the movie.
What did you think of it, Abby?
You
can say you didn't like it.
I did, and I didn't. I actually felt... Okay, so, context. Before I watched this, I watched Saltburn, which everybody was freaking out about.
Going on at the same time.
Yeah, and everybody was like, oh, the bathtub scene. You've never seen anything like this. And I remember watching Saltburn, and I was kind of like, I think I've seen worse. I think I have.
Probably.
And so when I was actually surprised when I watched Poor Things. I was like, I'm more unnerved by Poor Things.
Interesting.
Than I am by, like, something that was, like, supposed to be the most shocking thing in the whole of 2023.
Yes.
So, I don't know.
I understand what you're saying. I've heard that take that, like, everybody's freaking out about Saltburn and, like, the like, eroticism on display in that movie. It's very overt. And in Poor Things... It's hidden behind the artsiness in a way, but at the same time, like, 50% of the movie is Emma Stone having sex, completely naked.
Oh.
You know? So, her character. So, I understand the criticism. And it is unnerving in a different... I didn't watch Saltburn. Did you?
I did, yeah. And I feel like it did shake me. Mostly, it just depressed me. And I think some of the scenes were shocking. I think they're the kinds of scenes that are less shocking when everyone hypes up how shocking they are. Then you watch it, and then you're like, oh, that was weird, I guess. It was more shocking, I think, when you are not expecting it. But also, I almost wanted to equate the whole movie. The whole movie's kind of like a superficial. It doesn't get that deep or interesting, actually. It's like a lot of, I want to say gore porn, but it's not gore. It's actual porn.
Yeah.
But it's like erotic porn. Like, it's just like, what about that? What about that? It's like shock porn.
Yeah.
And doesn't really go that deep. I was mostly shocked by, like, I was kind of long-term affected by how depressed I was when people started dying and the family was just acting chill about it.
Yeah.
Kind
Okay.
of. That made me really depressed. Or, like, a family falling apart, that made me depressed.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah, I didn't watch it because I had heard pretty much about the 3 main, like, scenes, like the bathtub and the graveyard and, like, one other thing or something. And, like, the period or something. Like, I feel like maybe those were
Wait, why
scenes.
did this come up related to...
I don't know.
Sex
But anyway, I didn't watch it because I had heard everything about, like, the quote-unquote shocking scenes. And I was like, I don't need to watch this anymore because I know what they're trying... I don't know. I, like, know what it is in my head already.
Okay, so do any of us have any objections to the sexual and erotic fantasy?
Abby?
That's good.
It's really good.
It's good. It's correct.
It's the right one to start on.
Yeah.
It's a good appetizer.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Okay,
next one. I have no idea what this is, so I would like
Nice.
to know if you guys know what this
I'll
is.
explain it.
Catwoman 2011 animated short film seen at 9 minutes and 10 seconds always gets me wet.
That is so specific, and I love that this person knows exactly where they need to go on YouTube, down to the timestamp,
Should we look it up?
to get a little horny. Yeah, I think we should.
Wait, Catwoman 2011.
It's a cartoon.
Catwoman 2011 animated
Here,
short
you
film.
hold, I search.
Okay.
I do love that this is an animation.
Yeah.
It's on track with what we've talked about.
That's
cartoon
correct.
crushes.
That's already correct, yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah, animation.
And
Wait, tell me the timestamp.
9 minutes, 10
10
seconds.
seconds. You know, I hate to bring my dad up, but 9/10 is his birthday. September 10th.
Wow.
Is that something?
That is something.
Okay, we don't understand.
Yeah.
We watched the movie.
It was a good try.
I'm gonna give
action.
them something.
It was action scenes.
It was action scenes.
And trucks.
It was men in trucks.
Yeah.
The one man had, like, what I call a dirty accent, which is, like, New York or Boston or whatever. And I have such a thing for a dirty accent.
Yeah.
Like, I eat it right up. And so when that part happened, the man was in the truck and he spoke and that was the accent, I was like, maybe there's something there.
The other night, speaking of intrusive thoughts, I all of a sudden was imagining Justin, who's very much not a dirty accent, and I love his little proper boy, but I was imagining him as, like, one of the, like, Green Street hooligans, like soccer fans who, like, get into fights and they're, like, from fucking wherever the fuck they're from.
Like in the UK.
Yeah, in, like, dirty UK.
Yeah.
And, like, I was imagining, like, a chain around his neck.
That's hot.
And, like,
actually.
a tracksuit.
Yeah, like rugby vibes.
Oh, dirtier.
Dirtier.
Like my dad worked in a cowboy.
Yeah. This is a lot of the reason that I love watching Love Island UK. The people who go on Love Island UK are many times
Dirty boys.
those types of Brits.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I'm a scaffolder. Which is, that's like a literal job title in the UK. And I think it means like, maybe they work in construction. Like they're literally up on the scaffolding of buildings and stuff. And they have like the dirty British
Cockney.
accent. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I was imagining it
We
like
sound
Cockney.
so uninformed, so let's move on.
Yeah, okay, dirty boys.
Okay.
Do you have a dirty boy fantasy?
Me?
Yeah.
Personally? I mean, Tom Hardy kind of has that accent, does he not?
We've spoken about that.
Yeah,
I
Tom
don't
Hardy's
remember
hot.
his voice.
I don't remember if he has that accent.
Yeah, but he's a hot
There's this one
person.
video where a kid sends in a clip that's like, Tom, I love goldfish. Do you love goldfish? Or something like that. And Tom was just like, every sentient creature deserves love. And he said it in his accent.
I'm wet.
Yeah, I think I had a dream that he like pinned me against a wall that night, so.
What's the word sentient
That's
mean?
correct. Means they, like, are, like, have senses?
Like a
Yeah.
bodily figure.
Yeah, like
okay.
they're alive
Oh.
and can feel, yeah.
Okay.
Or maybe it's they have consciousness. Like, a
Yeah.
clam isn't
Okay.
sentient, right? Clam isn't sentient. I think they have to be able to think.
Got it. Okay. They have brains.
Should I look it up?
Sure.
Okay, read the next one.
Okay, next one. Let's actually
Able
go
to
with-
perceive and feel. Okay.
Yeah. Able to perceive and
Perceive
feel.
and
That's what we figured out. Okay. Seeing him cry, in parentheses, which he never does in front of anyone except me, and then make love to him.
I think we're having two different reactions. I'm like, yeah.
I don't know if that makes me wet. That makes me feel lovey.
Definitely, but then loviness makes me feel horny.
Stinky.
Yeah, a little bit. I think I relate in a sense. I don't know if I want to, like, get into it right after the tear. I feel like after I cry, if Ryan and I have a fight and I'm crying, which I usually do because I'm very quick and easy to cry, and then we resolve it and I'm not crying anymore and whatever, there's like such a clearing that happens.
Yeah, it's relief.
It's like this relief and this release and closeness because we've resolved something and all of that, and I will get horny like 9 times out of 10 in that situation.
Totally. That's what I'm saying. I don't think it's that rare.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like a mini breakup sex, makeup sex thing, because you had like the threat of fight, the threat of not being close, and then getting closeness again. You're emotionally drained. I think a lot of guys also end up feeling protective when you've cried, even though I'm like, yeah, but you made me cry, dog. So, a little different, but
it brings
I'm
down
not talking about Justin.
Yeah.
This is exes, but
yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah, I agree. And then the other thing that was in this DM that I relate to is like, which he only does with me.
Yeah.
I have such a thing for like dating or hooking up with or whatever, just crushing on the guy that's like guarded and like doesn't show his emotions and everybody thinks is like intense and whatever, but then they're a softie with me.
But it's so toxic.
It's a classic bad boy.
I don't think it's toxic. Not necessarily.
Oh, I think a lot of it can be toxic.
It can be, but I would say that applies. I mean, I'm dramatizing it for the sex of it all, but like I would say it applies to my relationship. Ryan is not a very emotionally open guy. He's emotionally aware. He's emotionally intelligent, but he's not like pouring out his emotions to anybody he meets like I am.
Yeah.
He's more guarded. And we have developed safety and trust and a bond and all those things that make it so that he opens up with me, and there is something that makes me feel special in that.
No, that makes sense.
Yes.
I guess I was thinking more, Abby said, bad boy thing. And the bad boy thing, it's like, okay, it's not just that you don't give certain things to other relationships, it's that you have to project a different version of yourself elsewhere. That's this bad boy. That
yes.
Toxic.
But I do think that's where mine is rooted. Mm-hmm. Like when I was younger, it was an attraction to bad boys, and now it's like I'm taking the part of that can be
healthy,
less toxic and healthier, and applying it to like a better, not bad boy dynamic. You know what I mean?
Yes. Do we move on, or should I say something about emotions?
Say something.
You can chime in. You're in the conversation.
Please.
You're not administrating.
I could tell when I was talking that you were like, you had something to say.
I was just thinking about, we talked about this last night, but I was just thinking again about, like, I listened to this podcast where the sex therapist was talking about how, like, for girls, we're tuned into our emotions, but not necessarily our bodies. And then it's the opposite for boys. They're tuned into their bodies, but not necessarily their emotions. And so I think that it is kind of like a fantasy to just, like, get them into their emotions, to just see what it's like.
Totally.
And see what that could be like in this, like, bedroom scenario.
Yes.
You know? And, like, crying is just, like, one of the outward ways that they show emotions.
Yeah. That's what I mean. I remember the first time ever seeing, like, a boyfriend cry, and it was, like, so meaningful. Whether or not it should be, it felt meaningful to me. So that's what I mean when I'm like, it would make me feel super lovey. Mm-hmm. But I don't think that's my, it's not my wet dream usually.
Yeah.
And then I would
it's related but not direct.
I wouldn't call it my erotic fantasy.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Even though I might get erotic afterwards.
Right. It's not a fantasy.
Not a fantasy. The fantasies are all people I never want to meet. I don't want to meet that person.
That's actually true. Fantasy to me is like, this will never happen in real life and I don't want it to.
I would have to call the police.
I love when it lives in my head. Yeah. I love how it is in my head.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So this one is checked off as not a fantasy.
Very relatable feelings, not a fantasy for us.
I don't want to invalidate it, but I do actually feel like I'm the authority, so.
Yeah.
For YouTube, I think the battery just died and we lost a bunch, but we're gonna just keep going.
Okay. Where do we leave off?
We were talking about, somebody submitted something about,
you were talking about being taken care of.
Well, somebody wrote in that they shared about their humiliation fantasy.
Yeah.
For me, the condescension thing with like a male father-y figure, it's like, or authority figure. It's a feeling of being taken care of, which would not work for me and would not feel like a quality in an actual relationship.
Yeah.
But I don't know why it works. It doesn't matter. It doesn't fucking matter why it works. It just does.
Right. Oh, yeah, and Abby had said, like...
But it feels like care.
Why do we often want to be smaller? Yeah. And yes, I agree. Like, being taken care of. I feel like I take care of myself in so many ways, in so many aspects of, like, that's what being an adult is. And I'm, like, proud of myself and glad that I've learned to take care of myself in a lot of ways. But I just want to break from it sometimes. And so sex can be one place where you get a break from who you usually are and what the dynamics usually are.
Yeah.
And I think that's the reason a lot of, like, women especially can lean into, like, wanting to feel smaller, wanting to feel like they don't know anything. They have something to learn. They're, like, not, you know, good enough or should be ashamed. Like, you're a bad girl. Like, that's where that comes from, I think. It's just, like, I don't know. And there's something about how, like, certain things that feel forbidden, I guess, too.
Totally forbidden. Yeah, I want to reiterate, we talked about this in our last episode, but, like, I think a lot of people stress over, like, oh my god, what does that mean about, it's like, it's everyone has a weird thing, everyone likes a forbidden thing in some arena or another, like, you really don't have to overthink it, it's the most standard thing, it's like a fucking given.
Yeah.
But, Esther Perel talks about it a lot if you want to read more from an actual expert on this topic. But I think there's also like, if you're somebody who's always trying to establish your legitimacy and equality and be treated equal all day long, there's actually an intimacy in, like, baring the flesh of your neck, and you're, like, vulnerable. It's literally very vulnerable to be like, I'm going to let someone even fake treat you as less than. It's like, that's kind of a show of trust in a way, because, like, I wouldn't do that. You probably wouldn't do that with a stranger. You probably wouldn't do that with someone. I think a lot of, like, sexy things too are only sexy and allowable if you really trust that person. Otherwise, there's, like, you know, a single thing, a single action or a statement or an energy that I would be, you might be furious if it was, like, some random hookup who you didn't have trust with. You know what I mean? It's like a show of trust.
Well, I think that's what I was thinking of is, as somebody who had, like, lost my virginity, quote unquote, later in life, like, feels like a late bloomer in this department. Something that is such a myth is that, like, having lots of sexual partners and, like, you know, going home with people from the bar all the time and one night stands is, like, the way to be sexy and be, like, hot and be, like, in your sexuality. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Like, there's no shame in that. And I've done my fair share of, you know, one night stands here and there. But at the end of the day, sex is so much more sexy when it is somebody who you feel safe with. And I think that's something that I've, you know, learned over the years. But younger girls, I think, need to know, or at least be open to the idea that, like, it doesn't mean there's anything wrong if you do have those, like, little flings and have sex with people that you don't have a deep connection with. But just know that, like, what you're experiencing in that sex, you probably think it's, like, the epitome of sex because you're a little more green, maybe. Yeah. But you will find, as you get older and you have sex with people that you actually trust, that, like, that sucked. To
me, that's the same as saying, I literally think it's the opposite. Like, the best sex usually comes, and the best experience and all that comes with long-term relationships.
Yeah.
Because, that, to me, that's like saying the best dates happens on speed dating. It's like, you only got a minute in. Or, like, you only got, like, a month into knowing this person and figuring out the dynamic and getting comfortable. It's like, no. Abby made a comment yesterday where she was like, you were putting down your legitimacy of what you know about relationships and relationship advice. And Abby was saying, because Abby's been married for 9 years. And you were saying, oh, Jess has probably been in way more relationships with me. And I was like, that doesn't mean anything, though. You've been in a 9-year marriage. That means you've hit relationship issues and relationship conversations that I've never hit. It's like you've gotten so much farther in. That's kind of, to me, that's like saying, well, I've been on 200 speed dates, so I know more about talking to men. It's like,
right.
No.
That is such a good comparison.
So I agree with I disagree with the sex thing, too.
Yeah. That's so funny that you had that impression at all.
Bitch, you've been married for a decade.
Yeah.
You think you don't know things about relationships?
I don't know anything. I've been in 2 relationships. This is my second
Well, you also
relationship.
don't not know anything.
Of course.
I just mean...
Of course. Everybody, whatever. You know what you know from the experiences you've had, and they all have something that somebody else doesn't.
But it is true. I think I think somebody who's good, it's usually they've been in a really long relationship.
Yeah.
I will say one of them that wrote in said joyful and loving mental/emotional interaction and said this is 100% real.
Aww.
It's like that's a fantasy and that can be a reality with
and it makes me kind of sad if that person's feeling like
they don't have that.
Yeah, that is only a fantasy and it's not something that feels attainable.
Yeah.
I hope that's not where they're coming from.
Oh, that is interesting. I want to know.
Yeah.
I think it would be more bewildering to me if someone was if somebody had that in their relationship and that's also what they spent their time fantasizing about. That would be bewildering to me to continue to fantasize about the thing you already have, because often I think it's pretty standard that for most people it's something forbidden or it's something different or it's just changing something up, even if it's not forbidden or weird. It's just like, oh, different.
Yeah. I think there's a range. I mean, like, I fantasize about things that I've never experienced. I fantasize about things that I probably will never experience. I also fantasize about things I've experienced before in the past. Like, calling upon memories that get me going. And, I mean, and I'll fantasize about, like, the way that my boyfriend, like, was being really sweet to me the other night, like, even though it happened and it continually happens, like, I will sometimes think about that in a very, like, fantastical, like, craving it way, Yeah. So I think there's room for fantasizing about things that are in your experience and things that you would never want in real life. Like, I think it can be a spectrum, I guess it just depends on the definition of a fantasy, like, because you can think about, is there a difference between, like, thinking about sex and fantasizing about sex,
I think so.
I listened to this podcast actually right before I came over, but I still will botch the quote. I think it was also by Esther Perel, but it was something about how, like, sex is not just a thing you do, but it's, like, a place you go. And I think, like, in that place, like, it can be whatever it needs to be to make it a worthwhile experience,
Right.
So, I don't know. It's just, it could be sweet, it could be spicy, it could be way kinky.
That's sweet.
But that place. Yeah.
That place. Okay, let's go to a different place.
Is there any more you want to touch on?
There's one that says, my response is too long, going to DM it, with a mermaid emoji, it looks like a pea pod emoji, and some water droplets. A more recent occurring fantasy. It's futuristic, and this new form of sexual interaction has cropped up. Women go into these clear pods. There is limited access to her body. Lady parts are only accessible through strategically placed arms holes.
Yep.
The man or woman outside the pod with consent can only provide hand-based pleasure. They cannot receive it, only watch the person that is. And that's the whole point. It's entirely about the woman in the pod's pleasure, and the person on the outside gets all their satisfaction from providing it. P.S. I'm always in the pod.
I like that.
I love it. I'm going to take this one for my own bank.
That's good.
It's really good. I love everything about it. Obviously it's very, like, centered around the woman and her pleasure. But I also think, like, the person, feeling her up or doing whatever to her, like, not only is it pleasure from giving her pleasure, but also, like, watching and having, like, a visual and, like, I can't do anything other than this. Like, that's really good for that person, too. Like, I think that both people in the interaction are getting a lot of pleasure. It's not just, like, the person in the pod is getting the pleasure and the person outside is just watching them. It's, like, there's so much to watching them and to only being able to do so much. So I feel like that's a very hot fantasy. I love it.
I just like holes, I think. I just like
Yeah.
the holes. I like the
Yeah,
limited
holes.
access and the holes.
The clear, wait, I didn't understand that part about why does it matter that she has limited, like,
I think it's like all you can access is a hole.
oh, okay.
It's like a glory hole, but like a pod covered in glory holes.
Yes, no, I can picture it. I just thought she was saying that like the woman doesn't have like water or food. And I was like, I don't think she needs any.
No, I
Does
like
she live
that.
there
I
or
like that.
is it just for the sex?
Right.
I really like it. Yeah, no notes, honestly.
good.
I'm definitely going to think about it.
Yeah,
That's correct.
I was gonna say. There's something about like the watching of it all, I think. Like so that's sometimes-
Voyeurism?
Yeah, sometimes
Yeah.
for me, like I like the idea. Not even like that somebody else is watching me, but sometimes I have to like picture like myself watching me.
Totally.
Yes, I do that too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then
Yeah.
I'm like, that's like when I get really into it. Yeah.
Yeah.
I think there's something really, I don't know. I don't even know what to call it. It's just interesting.
Well, I love. Okay.
Do it.
I love penetration. I just like, and so I'm like, well, I want to be able to watch it. And not just feel it, like I just like watching penetration.
Yeah.
Leave me alone.
There's nothing wrong with that. I love penetration.
great.
I know that's
Abby-
uncommon for women.
Abby just encouraged me, like, so, I don't know, in such a motherly way. Yeah.
You go, girl.
Stop it.
You go.
You're talking to me like your cat again. Yeah.
Just my kitty.
I think there's a lot to like watching yourself, pretending that you're watching yourself having sex. Like I definitely do that. I also think that even when I make sounds during sex, it's like so that I can hear myself making the sound. It's not like a naturally occurring sound. Usually, sometimes it is.
Moo.
But a lot of the times, moo bitch. It's not. It's not usually like a naturally occurring. I couldn't help but make this sound. It's like me encouraging myself to let out the sound, or even at the beginning when like sounds aren't happening, we're not like fully in it yet, to like make them, even though like kind of fake it till you make it, like not faking an orgasm, but just faking like the sounds as you go along.
Yeah.
Because as I start to hear them, I get more into it, and it's like this weird like
It's another sense.
cyclical effect.
It's like feel and
Yeah.
smell. So if people get turned on by smells.
It's like
I'm
not.
sure.
It's like
What are the
you
other
can-
senses? Eyes. What is the fucking fifth sense?
Touch.
Taste,
Touch.
baby girl, and you don't want
Wow.
food in
Ew,
bed.
ew. Does
But I'm
anyone-
over here with my sushi.
Some people do get turned on by a taste. I don't like that.
I don't think I like. Oh, actually, never mind.
Oh.
Well,
I have this product that Girls Gotta Eat, the podcast. They have a line of sex toys and like other sex paraphernalia, and I bought this product from them called Blow Gel, and it's like a flavored, totally safe to like eat. Not that you're gonna
It'd be
like
fun if it was
scoop it up in a bowl.
It'd be fun if it was unsafe to eat.
Danger.
A flavored gel.
Pre-workout.
A flavored gel that you can use when giving a blowjob.
Oh.
And
I don't like that.
It's really good.
It is.
It's really
What does it taste
enjoyable.
like?
They have different flavors. I think I have the mango one.
Weird.
It just tastes kind of like fruity. It's I like it. I feel like what am I trying to say? I can be a little bit shy about going down there and also letting someone go down on me. I've definitely gotten better in that way, but it's like a insecurity and a shyness and a like, do I smell okay? Do I taste okay? And
I'm
then
with you.
the same thing about going down on a guy. Like, I'm a little bit like, this is kind of gross. Like, I find oral sex like more intimate than penetrative sex.
Totally.
And so, fine, I do it. But, like, this gel has definitely helped me enjoy it more because I'm less concerned about any weird taste or smell. Not that anybody that I'm having sex with is smelly, but just, like, it's a area that doesn't
It's a
see the light of
body.
day.
It's like-
and it's a body.
I feel
And so, yeah, it, like, helps me enjoy the experience more. I can stay down there longer, and I can, like,
Nice.
be more enthusiastic about it, which I think that adds to the experience of
Yeah.
someone receiving it.
yeah.
So, yeah.
Nice.
I
Okay.
recommend.
Good find. Good find.
Mm-hmm.
I love that. I think that's amazing. And I'm so
Thanks,
proud.
Mom.
Sweetie, I'm so proud of you too for just like opening up for yourself.
Thank you.
I feel like I've been on a very similar journey, and It's great.
I know.
Getting to the end of it.
It's so funny. I talk about it occasionally on the podcast. Like, I have weeks, like last week when I was like, I don't know, like, how to be, like, kinky or something. And then I have weeks where I'm like, actually, like, I do have a lot of things that I do that I've grown a lot in these ways, and I've, like, pushed myself out of my comfort zone and discovered the things I like, and, like, I don't give myself enough credit.
I think what I don't understand is, why is kinky your goal? I don't understand why... I don't understand what the pressure is. It's like, I would understand if you were like, we don't feel connected in sex, or this doesn't feel good, or he doesn't like it. But beyond that, I'm like, are you liking sex?
Yes.
Are you feeling connected?
Right.
This other layer you're adding on of, it's supposed to be some way. That's like the biggest, easiest way to damage you in any arena of life.
Totally.
Where's that pressure or expectation coming from?
It's coming from the fact that I'm a late bloomer. Like, I didn't have sex till I was 21. Yeah. I didn't have sex with someone I actually loved and felt a connection with until I was 24. And even then, I was, like, new to it, and it was weird, and I'd only had a couple sexual partners that were, like, passing flings before that.
Yeah.
And I grew up feeling like everybody else was doing it, and doing it a lot and doing it well, and that's like a total falsehood. It's a total falsehood, but that is what I grew up thinking.
I get you. I'm with you.
And through my 20s, I still thought it, and now, even though I cognitively know that that's not what it was and what it is, I still have these little bits of me left over that are like, that sometimes they crop up and they're like, wait, but am I doing enough? And am I doing it right? And am I hot enough and sexy enough and kinky enough and whatever the word is? And it's like, when I'm clear-minded, I don't worry about it, because I, like you said, I like know the sex I'm having is, I'm enjoying it and it feels safe and I'm trying new things and whatever. And I'm doing what I want, ultimately. But there's such a pressure around it. And I think...
the idea of pushing yourself. You always...
pushing myself to do more.
You're always talking about, like, I think I need to push myself more. I need to grow. I think that's what I'm just like...
Why?
For fucking who?
Well, you also...
I get it. Because I'm the same as you. Late bloomer, grew up, like, very conservative, religious community. And, like, couldn't, wasn't allowed to have sex until I was married and all that. And, and I feel similarly, where it's just like, I'm so behind. Like, what is that? What's everybody up to these days?
Yeah.
I feel like I also was, like, coming of age during, like, what's that book called? 50 Shades of Grey or whatever, when, like, that was becoming, like, more, like, mainstream and everything. And I was just like, what is everybody doing? Like, it kind of just felt like everybody was, like, doing that sort of, like, BDSM, like, whatever stuff. And, like, like, that's great and whatever. But it felt so foreign to me. And again, like, some sort of box I was supposed to, like, check off of, like, sexual exploration.
Yes.
That, like, having, like, a personal relationship to sex didn't feel like something I was, like, allowed to pursue. It felt like there was
sex and then you.
Yeah.
Sex and then people. And, like, people experience, they like, walk towards and deeper into this thing that exists called sex.
Yeah.
That's how it's felt for me. As opposed to, like, there's me and my sexual experiences. It feels like that's over here, and I have to explore it deeper and deeper all the time, because that's what we're supposed to do. And then there's also a fear that I have of, like, you hear about couples who have been together for a long time, and, like, how things get stale, and people cheating because they didn't have enough going on at home, and all these fucking narratives that are in the media.
And it's like, how do you mix it up if you don't know what you're doing?
If you don't know, like, I'm doing what I can over here.
And so I totally get that. You, like, get in your head, because you're like, well, what else is out there? What else could I be doing?
Yes.
What else should I be doing? And it's like, even if you're having, like, a great experience with just whatever sex you like, there's still, it's like in the back of your head, like, but
there's probably more.
We have, like, tried this other thing? And it's like, but why? Why do you need to?
Yeah.
If this session was so great.
Yeah.
Why am I not just, like, in the moment, just, like, enjoying that?
Well, I think you basically just, like, pointed out that there is, when you hear shit like that about, like, well, people will cheat if it's not, what you automatically start comparing, and you're like, okay, so if it's not at a certain benchmark, then they'll cheat, which I have opinions on that whole thing. I think that's a fucking... I think
terrible.
that's
backwards.
Well, I think it's also a really lazy way to summarize why people cheat.
Yeah.
I don't think that really covers a lot of it.
Yeah.
So I don't even agree with the statement. or the explanation of cheating. But even if that's what you're thinking and what's in your head, then you're trying to compare, okay, well, how does my sex measure up? And then you're trying to compare something that you have no insight into.
Yeah.
It's in a black box. So the whole nature of sex, which is like, you don't get to watch other people do it that much, it feels really hard to know where you stand in relation to things if you get caught up in me in relation to other people. I also think there's something about the only times that, which I think sex should just be about you and your relationship to it, sure, ideal, but it's easy to get caught up in comparison, especially when there's like a shared cultural phenomenon like 50 Shades of Grey, where it's like, okay, like the joke, I remember SNL making a joke about how like every vanilla like
Karen
stay-at-home mom was jerking off to 50 Shades of Grey. It was like everybody was doing the most vanilla was loving it. And I think that was true. It was a bestseller. People were into it so much. And that meant that, like, it's a common fantasy.
Yes.
It's a common fantasy, but that doesn't mean everybody was getting bondage stuff at home.
Right.
Yeah.
I think there's this huge distinction people overlooked is, like, this is a fantasy that turned them on, like, whatever clear pod or whatever. But if everyone was obsessed with the clear pod glory hole thing, and, you know, everyone was buying into that, that doesn't mean that they're all doing it at home. There is such a distinction between what ideas turn people on and what they're actually doing in their bedroom. And I think that gets lost when, like, the only communal sex experience we have is like, well, everyone bought this book, so everyone must be doing it.
Yeah.
It's
Also,
completely
totally.
misleading. I think it's completely misleading.
Totally.
Yeah, definitely misleading. And also, I don't love how, like, the term vanilla feels so, like,
Bad.
condescending.
Right.
And, like, you're not doing enough and stuff. It's like, I think, for the most part, everyone's pretty vanilla.
Yeah.
In, like, a lot of ways, right? Like,
Yes.
Or like missionary is so
it's like a
put down.
It's a classic for a reason.
Yeah.
Right.
There's only a few positions that fucking do anything.
And now there's a new movement I've noticed from watching a lot of reality shows where they'll play games where they have to say, like, they have to guess, like, what somebody's favorite sex position is or whatever. Now there's a new trend where missionary's actually back. And it's like a good way for guys to show that they actually care because they want to look at your face or whatever.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So there's like all of these things of like, when I was growing up, all I really heard about sex was like, there's all these positions and then there's missionary. And you don't want to be doing that because you're vanilla if that's all you do. And then now there's like a flip. Obviously I don't care anymore the way I did when I was like learning all this stuff and growing up. But it's so funny how no matter what, there's like a societal expectation and standard and definition, and like, if you do this, then that means this about you and your sex.
Yeah.
And that's why it feels like it's this thing separate from me, and other people are in it more than I am.
And you haven't, like, cracked the code or figured out how to do it right.
Yeah.
Yeah. I know, I can see why I can understand why it happened.
Yeah.
And the way that we relate to sex, talk about sex, and your personal experience. I understand why you feel that way, but I also just want to be like, none of that, nobody else's fucking opinions about sex matters or experience.
Yeah.
Also, I don't even trust half of what people say.
I know.
Yeah,
it's
most-
so true.
Like, I feel like a lot of people lie about it. They want to seem something. I don't know.
People are never going out of their way to let you know how bad their sex life is.
Right.
You don't hear about those ones.
I have a question.
I'm ready.
Yes.
Have you ever asked someone out in real life? Like, genuinely. Have you ever done that?
Let me think back to 9 years ago.
Yeah.
I don't know if I'll have a good answer.
As in not on...
In person.
In person?
Yes.
I think maybe the ways I had done it was like I would still write something, but I might write it in a letter or like a book.
Okay.
I don't think I said it verbally.
Yeah. Neither have I. But somebody wrote us and asked us that question.
Wow.
And I was like, yeah, just go ahead and invalidate all of the advice that we ever give. It was a very good question.
To me, it always just makes me think about, like, I do have a lot of sympathy for what the average guy has to feel in facing rejection over and over and over. And everybody actually, like, all genders, all orientations have to face rejection in dating because that's part of it. And women face it at a different point in dating. But the asking out part, on average, the average woman does not feel expected to do it as much.
Yeah.
I fucking haven't. You're right.
I've done it over like Hinge, you know, on a dating app, or probably not in any other context. I don't think I've like texted someone out of the blue to go out or anything, and I've definitely not done it in person. I think the only time is if I'm talking to someone on Hinge and they didn't ask me out fast enough or something.
Yeah.
Occasionally I would be like, do you want to just get drinks or something?
I did that a lot.
But yeah.
I did that a lot.
Right. And I think that's a good thing. I feel like more women should do it. I have a lot of friends who have kind of like a thing in their head that like they really would prefer, at least the way they describe it is like they would prefer not to have to. And it's like, yeah, sure, I guess you want to be asked out. I get it. That feels good. But like it is leaning into these gender roles that are probably holding you back from meeting really cool people who just like weren't at their phone at the time or didn't, you know, felt shy too or whatever. So
I also feel like these cucks can't be trusted with my schedule. Like, I'm not, you're the one who's deciding the schedule now. And that, you know, I guess I should feel that way. I should have felt that way also in person of like, I'm leaving it up to you to decide when I get asked out.
Yeah.
But specifically over dating apps, I felt that more so. Also because I've heard from guys that they're like, well, I know some girls get offended if you talk too long. Chat too long before asking them out.
Right.
And some girls get offended if you ask them out too early. So I think that, and definitely both happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Totally. And I do not want to be chatting long on an app. So I would be like, confirm you're a normal person, confirm you can construct a sentence, confirm you can ask a single question about me. You're minimally attractive. Great. Let's meet in person to find out if we're interested in talking more.
I think that's the thing is like a lot of people say, I don't want to be talking on the app forever.
But then they fucking do be.
Well, they do be, and they don't be asking the person out because you're talking on the app forever because you refuse to be the one to ask them out. So now you're in this days-long conversation. Yes, maybe it's true that like you don't want to end up with somebody who's going to allow this conversation to drag out anyway. Fine. There's definitely some people who are only on the apps to like have a pen pal and get attention and never meet in person. And you do want to weed those people out. Yeah. But like if you're still engaging in the conversation, then you're part of the problem. Either stop talking to them or ask them out.
I can't believe it never occurred to me that people weren't pulling that trigger. Because to me, it actually feels so different on a dating app than in person to pull that trigger.
Totally. I think it's easy to do. But I think a lot of people, specifically women, feel like they want a guy who will do the asking out.
But this is the thing, you don't even know why they're not asking you out. They might not be asking you to get a drink because they've gotten feedback from the previous girl that they pushed that too quickly and it made them uncomfortable. Like, they might be not asking you out then. Literally, they might be a fucker. They might want a pen pal. They might want to waste your time. Or they might think they're respecting fucking something and feeling it out. So.
Yeah, there's a lot of assumptions happening, a lot of projections of, like, things you've experienced in the past happening.
Everybody.
And that, yeah, that's, like, normal. It happens, but I totally agree with you. Like,
yeah.
I feel like it's also applying kind of a rule of thumb that exists in in-person dating, has existed in in-person dating, to dating apps. And I think that's where a lot of people
the rules are different.
Don't find success on the dating apps because they're trying to be like, well, if it was in person and I met this person at work and we became friends and whatever, then like I would really like for them to ask me out. Okay, I can understand that. This is a totally different scenario. You have shown up and you equally have the same like limited information about each other, limited time to talk on an app, and intention of like, I'm here to date, whether that's seriously or not is up to the person. But like, it just, you can't apply the in-person rules to it. Like I feel like asking someone out on an app is like, should be thought of as mechanical. It's like, okay, yeah, we matched and we got enough of a feeling kind of that like you're normal. One of us asked the question.
It's kind of like asking to have a conversation.
Yeah.
It's not asking to date. It's just like, oh, now we can actually go have a real conversation and see how that is.
Agreed.
I think the thing in person that a lot of times people are like, well, I want to be approached, blah, blah. I felt the same. I'm not saying it's the right way to feel, but a lot of people want to be approached. A lot of people want to know. Maybe they think they're vetting the guy in person. Like, he should be able to go for something. He should be able to take it or whatever the fuck you want. Okay. But on the dating app, that's not the thing that's being vetted in that move. The thing that they might be vetting is like, I don't want to come across like I'm just hooking up or something. So the assertiveness in person and the assertiveness on the app, I think can be vetting very different things. the other thing that I sometimes had a fleeting fear of on the apps was like, this didn't stop me from asking people out, but I sometimes was like, if I do this too early, I think guys think I'm desperate.
Yeah.
And really I was like, I'm just desperate to not be texting you.
Yeah.
I'm desperate to not fucking wait to get
time.
the fuck off of here. I would like to eliminate you as soon as possible. Or I would like you to eliminate me as soon as possible. Both are really constructive. Let's fucking kill it as fast as possible.
Yep.
Not desperate. Loved being alone. And so I sometimes had that fear, but the thing that countered it for me is like, the guy, if somebody thinks that, man or woman, we're talking about all genders, if anybody thinks that you being assertive is desperate, they are not ready to date somebody. Mm-hmm. That is immature, toxic. If you think that about someone, them being assertive in a minimally assertive way, or saying what you want, like saying what you want is not embarrassing. Mm-hmm. Saying that you would like to meet somebody is not embarrassing. It's not weak. It's not pathetic. It is vulnerable. And if somebody meets your vulnerability with judgment, cool. It's not a match then.
Right.
Or they are just looking for a hookup,
right,
or blah, blah, blah. But someone who's genuinely there, man or woman, and they're like, I am looking for someone who is looking to build a real connection, for you to ask them to meet in person is a great thing. So let them eliminate themselves if they think that's weird.
Yeah, and like having them eliminate themselves via an app, like this is a person you've not met yet. I think people can sometimes get so attached to the idea of a person from their profile and their brief app conversation, and like let themselves think into the future and fantasize as to like, oh, this could the right thing for me. This could really be the person for me before you've even met them in person. And I feel like you really have to like temper your desire to do that, because then it puts a lot more pressure on the ask out. But if you just ask them out because like, okay, we matched and we talked for 5 minutes and like, I'd rather just get to it and find out, and that's the attitude you have about it, it's much easier to ask them, because it's also much easier to get rejected. It's much easier for somebody to just not respond and ghost you if you haven't fantasized about your whole life together.
Oh my God.
So, and I feel like that's the like, why else are you nervous to ask someone out on an app? You don't know this person. It must be because you're deciding something about who they could be to you, what it means if you got rejected by them.
Yeah.
And like, you don't know the person. So it should just like treat it like a ripping the Band-Aid every time. That I totally am with you.
And to me, any rejection is important information you want to know.
Yeah.
Like, let's say on an app you ask somebody out and they say no. That's important information. Or they think it's weird. That's important information. Or they think you're desperate. That's important information. Like, none of these are a dateable person then, if that's what you're looking for. Or they don't respond. Whether that's because they're a fucker and they're like, oh, I'll string this one out. Not being able to respond because they're fucking with you, don't go out with them. Or not responding just because they were genuinely preoccupied in their life and not on the app. That also kind of means, like, whatever the reason for someone not being present and invested and serious about it, that also means they're not present and invested and serious about it. And maybe it's a genuine misconnection where they had a bad week and they meant to respond, but they didn't, and then it's just like ships in the night. Then it's just out of everyone's control. Yeah. Like, kind of to me, though, whatever the response is like information to be happy about.
Yeah.
To be really happy about. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, dating is collecting information. And yeah, especially at that early stage, the information is important, but has less...
It's not personal, though.
Wait, it's not personal. That's the word I'm looking for.
It doesn't mean you're undateable.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Wow.
Can I tell you guys something?
Yes,
Please.
Always.
I never did the apps.
Right.
Yeah.
I never had to. It was like right when they were becoming big that I met Jake.
Well, you're not missing much, babe.
Yeah.
Yeah, true. You're probably considered one of the lucky ones by a lot of listeners.
I don't know the dynamics. Can I tell you a cute story about Jake?
Yes,
Sure.
Jake is your husband.
Jake's my husband. He's a sweetie. But he did the apps a little bit. We met in college. He did the apps for a little bit, and he, started realizing that when he was on campus, he would, like, look at women and, like, swipe in his head. He would, like, swipe one way, swipe the other way. And so he was like, wait, I actually hate that. And he deleted the app.
Oh, good for him that his reaction was, I hate that.
He didn't like what it was doing to his brain.
Yeah.
And Jake is a sweetie boy. Sweetie, sweetie boy.
He's an angel boy. Yeah, and then we met shortly after.
It is a hot or not, or like a fuckable decision or whatever. You know, it's at the end of the day, like, there are other things that you come to learn as you, like, then read the profile and then talk to them and then go on the date and whatever. But, like, the initial, like, somebody pops up and you're swiping because it's, like, gamified.
Yeah.
Like, it is very hot or not.
Sort of, but it's also, I think that's what people take to heart about it a lot. They're like, well, if they didn't swipe on me, they think I'm not hot. But, like, research has shown that what we are so much harsher and less open on the apps than we are, even when we're doing hot or not in person.
Yeah.
Hot or not happens at the bar and in person too, where it's I'm just looking for a hookup. But on the app, just looking at a face, and you haven't seen it. A still image, and you haven't seen the face talk. You haven't seen how it moves. You haven't seen how it holds himself, how they listen. Those are all parts of attraction, even at a superficial level, that people reject at a much higher rate on the apps than they would in real life.
Totally, I believe
so that's one thing people take to heart really hard, where they're like, oh my God, all these people don't think I'm hot enough. It is skewed on the app.
And I think the apps create an environment that almost feels like online shopping.
Yeah.
Where you're like, oh yeah, I like that, I don't like that. And so you're operating in a framework of like, okay, my type is this and only this. And I'm looking for people that match that. And I'm online shopping. So if I keep going, I'll find enough options that do match that. And so you're way more restrictive. Not only are you not getting a lot, you know, you're not getting the same like test of attraction that you would in real life because it's just a still image. But you're also like, I think being way more restrictive about what you're looking for because it's a profile that has like somebody who's this tall with brown hair with this job. Oh, that matches what I'm looking for. Whereas if you talk to somebody in person, they might really surprise you and not match any one of those things.
So I will say I noticed that about myself even, where when I was swiping on apps and the kind of brain reframe that I would do that I think is fucking great. When looking at someone's profile, I would picture a personality. I would be like, okay, let's say this was my most favorite personality ever. I was so in love with this human soul. Then would I find them attractive? It's like, maybe you have to picture a certain personality, but I think I've developed crushes in person on personalities before where I'm like, but I still just don't really find you attractive. And that's, to me, I mean, it's important to be attracted. Yeah. Whatever that formula is, it is important to be attracted to your partner. It would not be nice to marry someone and then be like, well, I love your soul, but I just don't ever want to have sex with you, ever. Like, that robs everybody of something.
Yeah.
So it's important to be attracted, whatever that formula looks like. It might not be look-based at all. For a lot of people, the looks don't factor into it at all. It does to me to some degree. But looks didn't factor in to me as high as I was factoring it on the apps. Mm-hmm. And so I would look at someone and be like, if I knew this was the most dazzling person to be around, would I want to hook up with them? Yeah. So that to me changed. Also, all this to say, I feel like I'm dating the hottest person ever. So I didn't feel like I had to like lower the bar. Yeah. But Justin did not put his hot pictures online. He specifically did not. We've talked about it since, and I was like, I think you're way hotter in person than your profile showed. In his profile, I loved that he looked really kind and smiley and nice and cute. He looked cute, but mostly he just looked so sweet. And I was like, I really want to meet this person. And then looking through his photos before we met, before our first date, there was one photo, it was the last photo, that I looked at and I was like, I think this dude's super, like, secretly really hot. It was like a bunch of different angles, or he was smiling, or he was talking, and it was hard to tell what he really looked like. He was definitely cute enough. But I was like, I think this dude's actually really hot. Met in person, can confirm. But to me, like, I think if I was just looking for the hottest person ever, he didn't put up photos to reflect that, and he said that intentionally. And I ended up doing the same, where I was like, I'm not just putting up my hottie hot photos in the best photo that's ever taken of me, because what if I don't look like that in person? Yeah. Also, like, I want to have enough of my personality coming through. So, like, if you feel like maybe you're limiting your type, or, you know, I don't usually go for motorcycle guys, but I'm looking at this motorcycle guy, and if I knew he had the most charming, delightful, kind heart ever, would I still be attracted enough to him? Then that's like the filter to me.
Yeah.
To just go and meet in person.
Totally, yeah. It's only to go to the first date. Like, there's so many steps after that. Yeah, I've heard that a lot, and I think I tried to do it too when I was on the apps, is like making your pictures reflect like what you're most self-conscious about. Like, I was...
Oh, that's true.
I always felt self-conscious about my body in dating, and like, oh, if I'm like a curvier girl, is that going to attract guys? And so I kind of at some point decided, like, instead of choosing the pictures on my profile where I look skinny because of like the angle and because of the outfit and whatever, I'm not going to choose my worst photos either, but I'm going to choose ones that look more just like me.
Because those are the guys you want to go out with, a guy who likes a curvy girl.
Yeah, and who likes what I look like. Exactly. So let me have this
filter
represent me. Like, no filters, not like the best, like, not the worst angles, but not the best angles.
You should filter them out.
Oh, yes, exactly.
That's the exact advice. I talked about this on the pod.
Yes.
The thing I felt so insecure about, a million things, but the biggest thing I didn't know how to fit into dating was being a YouTuber. It was always so weird. I cannot tell you how weird and how uncomfortable it was so many times. And then eventually Jess was like, do you talk about it on your profile? I specifically hid it. I would hide it to like the third date.
Yeah.
I would just tell people I was a video editor or I was an interior designer. I wouldn't say. And then it was always weird. And Jess was like, put it on your profile so they can look it up, they can check it out, they can decide if it's a deal breaker for you. You won't end up on a date with those people.
Right.
By the time you end up on a date with them,
you have to weed them out.
Those are people who are already on board with it. And actually it meant they could go and look at my YouTube, probably get a better idea of my personality. And the first time I finally put that on my channel or on my profile, the first date I went on with Justin.
Yeah.
With Justin, yeah.
Exactly. Yeah, I think it's such an easy thing to fall into, to like put the things that are the most quote unquote attractive or that we like the most about ourselves. And obviously you want to be putting your best foot forward, but like, this is putting my best foot forward. Me looking what I look like.
Because you're proud of how you look.
Is like something I like.
And I'm proud of my job.
And you're proud of your job.
If
like
someone
ultimately
else,
in our lives with our friends and, you know, people who care about us, like those are things about us that we like and own and make us who we are. But they're things when you're dating that it's very easy to get critical of yourself and get awkward about. And
what if they don't like it?
What if they don't like it?
Then don't fucking date them.
Make those things the things that are on your profile.
Yeah, and I will say, by that I don't mean you should lead. I fucking hate that fucking stupid quip about like, if you don't love me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. Bitch, everyone should be working on their worst things.
Yeah.
Like, everyone should be working on that. I don't think everyone you love needs to bear the burden of you just being like, well, this is my worst and you have to love it. Like, no, we're all working on ourselves. And that is particularly not a reasonable burden for someone who doesn't know you. Like, if I have horrible qualities, and no, I don't
I'm nodding, sorry.
I don't think you lead with those. I think you learn to love and work with those based on the rest of the package. So I think the filter here is like, put the things on. You're afraid someone doesn't like XYZ about you, but it is important to you. It is core to you, and you have love somewhere for it. That should go on.
Yes, well said. Well summarized. Yes.
Beautiful. You guys are dating app queens.
Not
false
at all. Those were terrible times, and
you made it out. That's what I'm saying. You made it out alive.
It's much easier to look at in retrospect and be like, oh, this would have gone way better, or I wish I had done this differently, or okay, finally when it worked and I met my boyfriend, like this is how it was approached, you know. But like, it's so much harder when you're in it.
The hardest thing I felt, I still didn't know how well I was doing it by the end, but I felt it was so hard to figure out how I was coming across. I found that, like, I didn't know how a photo was being interpreted. I was like, is this a cute photo or is this an ugly photo? Is this a silly photo or is this a personality photo? I could not fucking tell. Mm-hmm. Also, like, one thing I felt like, I think a big part of my personality for people who like me is they like my humor. And I could not for the fucking life of me figure out how to put that on my profile because I am not a joke writer. When I was in the comedy world for a while, it became very clear there's so many different versions of comedy or just humor in general, and I am not a joke writer. I'm not an SNL joke writer. I'm not a skit writer. That's not my talent. Bless you, bitch. if I'm funny to you, it's like a situational thing.
Right.
It's like an attitude or a weirdness. It's not a punchline or a joke. So I could not figure out how to get that on a profile. And just in a million different ways, you know, I think sometimes people like have their friends look at their profile for them or tell them how it's coming across. Or I thought it was really interesting. I've talked a lot with Justin about how he would read women's profiles or how he thought about compiling his own. And it's just so hard to know what people are getting from what you think you're showing them.
Right. Which is why it should honestly be less about what you are trying to show them and just more about the things that are important to you.
I know, I just didn't even know how to relay those things.
I know. Well, that's true.
Yeah.
But I guess it's like relaying them in a way that feels honest or true to you or something. Or also just knowing that, like, you're gonna end up on the dates and then they're gonna find out.
That's why I always wanted to just get to the date.
Yeah.
I'm like, are you brain dead? Do you have a face?
Yeah,
cool.
Let's just find out.
Let's find
out.
out.
For the love of God.
Please.
Yeah. Okay,
I am going to put one bit in for the YouTube channel. We might move this up. The camera died at one point. I think we lost a lot of footage. So there's a lot more to this episode if you want to listen to the audio on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever. We did lose a big chunk of this recording for YouTube, unfortunately. So there might be a big, weird gap. But
we'll try to make it make sense, but definitely, yeah, if it seemed like something got weird in the middle there,
it did.
Go listen to the audio. Okay.
Oh my God, does Abby want to do our sign
Do the outro.
Oh my God, we never get to hear from her little voice.
She's so ready. Go.
Okay, so this is, I'm gonna be you guys, okay?
Okay.
Oh yeah,
no.
wait, do an impression.
Do Caroline.
Do an impression of Jess and of me.
Oh my gosh,
I don't know if I do something consistent.
I know, I feel like
what you do.
Yeah, with Caroline it would just be like, okay, that's our show, and you listened, and that's on you.
Yeah.
So, what's our Instagram again? What's the... is it not...
It's not for
the number 4?
The number 4, everyone pod.
Okay, you guys are making me sound so stupid.
No, you're usually very clear at it. Yeah, but anyway, that was our show.
Leave us a review.
Do Jess.
Jess would just be like, yeah, leave us a review at,
Formal.
yeah,
Formal.
not for, the number 4, everyone pod.
That's so your voice. That's so you, so a little British.
So
and
British.
Leave us a review, and also, what else? Buy our merch.
Yeah,
and,
I say all the things.
yeah.
I list them all.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want, but thanks for being here. Good day.
Good day.
Give a kiss. Thank you.